Hello and welcome to the Investor Guys podcast. I'm Kevin Mills, and with me is Bill Barnett. And today I am in the theater because we were going to do a lifestyle show. We're still going to do a lifestyle show. Today is Bill's lifestyle show. So
you're in back in South Florida, back in Miami Beach area.
Palm Beach, yes.
Palm Beach, yeah.
In a nice air-conditioned theater. It's literally 104 degrees outside right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting in here with my drink, and I probably should have got some popcorn just for a visual effect, but there's popcorn.
Yeah. So we're
just relaxing here about your lifestyle.
We're in a similar temperature zone as you. This has been unique in that, so we're used to 100 degree plus every summer. That's kind of a natural thing here. But this summer, it's been staying in the low hundreds and high 90s. But for some reason, it just feels hotter.
Probably more humidity. There was, I'm not sure where it is now, but there was a tropical storm in the Gulf literally a week ago. So you probably have more humidity. I have a dad and my dad and I have a brother who are in Austin and saying the same thing. It's considerably warm this year.
Yeah. So, one of the things that you want to look at as you consider getting into real estate investing, or if you're in real estate investing, look, there's a thing you got to do that pushes you forward. You've got to decide, what is it about doing this thing? For us, it's real estate. And obviously we think it's real estate for you. You wouldn't be listening to the podcast, but whatever it is that you're involved with from a business standpoint, you've got to get to a point where you understand this is the reward that I get when I go do this thing. And whatever that is that turns on, I love little things that you set little markers and milestones, and you hit these plateaus and you say, okay, I get to reward myself now for doing that. Or opportunities come along that come to you because you're doing real estate, and what that does is it frees up time for you. Now, so we talked about in one of the previous podcasts, we mentioned, and since we're talking lifestyle today, one of my favorite times was the 2 years I spent pit crewing IndyCar. That happened because of real estate, because I had the time available to go do that, and I wasn't worried about what I got paid. I got paid $150 a day, whether I needed it or not. And so the thing was, when the opportunity presented itself, I told the guy that owned the team, hey, you can't afford me, but that doesn't mean you can't have me. And so then we worked out, and what my pay was being in the crew, being in the pit crew. And then that next challenge was, what is it that you can do? Well, I held the sign for most of the first season, but I quickly became, after about 3 races, I was pulling the air hose for the front tire changer on the left front tire changer. And then the second season, I was in control of the fuel. So I was the guy that determined how much of the fuel. So we had 35-gallon free gravity flowing tanks. When you see those in the races, they're just these big tanks, and they're about 7 feet off the ground, and they're tilted. It's a gravity flow in a 4-inch aircraft hose. And so the engineer would tell me, here's how much fuel that we want to get in this next stop. And then my job was to make sure that that's the amount of fuel that came out. And it was incredibly technically oriented. It was a lever, and you better be right on. So because that may be different now, but that's the way it was then. But all of that happened because of time. Being able to have the time to spend month on the road, the entire month of May in 1999 and 2000, the entire month of May, I was in Indianapolis for the 500. Then typically on a normal race, we would leave out sometime Thursday, get to the track on Friday, practice Friday, maybe, certainly Saturday, race on Sunday, come back Sunday night, or sometimes Monday, but most times Sunday night, and then be doing real estate till Thursday of the next week. And so that's one of those key things you look at is what is it that makes you tick? What is it that makes you push? What is it that makes you want to get out there and get after it? So for me, that was one of the things. I'm an experienced guy. I love having, I've always told Kevin, I've always had a fun gig. And for the last few years, it's been coaching multiple youth baseball teams at the same time. And I spent 3.5 years traveling with country music artists all over the country every weekend. I would leave sometime Friday, and either late Sunday or early Monday morning, I would come back and I would be somewhere with the likes of, I did a bunch of stuff with Toby Keith and with Kenny Chesney. And at the time that we were doing that, Tracy Lawrence was really, really hot. We did a ton of stuff with Tracy. I worked with Tracy Bird, Terry Clark, just Merle Haggard when Merle was still alive. Did several shows with Merle Haggard and Willie Nelson. I'm actually one of those people that have been on Willie's bus, and all the stories that you hear are true. The whole bus.
Willie's bus in Austin. I can tell you it is true.
Yeah. So, but again, that was a time thing. That wasn't something that you did because you were trying to make money. That was something that you did because of the experience. And what made the experience available was the fact that I had the time to be able to do it. And obviously I was the right type person that the people that were running all that stuff, that was handled by Coors and a contract company that they had. And so because of that relationship with that contract company, then that spread on into the other things. We did a lot of stuff with the NFL. We did a ton of stuff with NASCAR. And we did some things with college football. I hosted an event in Miami at the Orange Bowl, at the new Orange Bowl, if you will, when the Dolphins went into their new stadium. So this would have been, I want to say 98. It was the year that Tennessee won the national championship, but we hosted a big event down there. And so I was already a fun thing. I was scouted for the Citrus Bowl. And so I was doing my Citrus Bowl stuff. With the Citrus Bowl is on New Year's Day, and we would be in Orlando the entire week. And we were, my ex and I were hosting. There were about 5 couples. We were one of them that would host the SEC team's coaching staff. We had a green room for the coaching staff where they would come in. It was available for them 24/7 for that entire week, so that they could just get away from everybody, so that they could just have a place to come with their wife if they wanted, or buy them stuff they wanted, sit down, have a drink, chill out, grab a sandwich, whatever, and just get away from everything for a few minutes. So we did all the stuff that normally goes on with a big bowl, and it was just a blast. And the event, we had our game. Our game was an early game that day. I think we were a 1 o'clock game. So we're through. We're back to the hotel, just chilling out. We're going to fly back to Dallas the next day. And I get a call from this independent contractor that Coors used. And guy goes, "Hey, we need you to go down to the Orange Bowl. Can you do that?" And I was like, well, I guess, gee, twist my arm. And said, "So you want me to catch a ride to the airport or what?" And he goes, "No, we're sending the tour bus by to pick you up." So they had a bus pick me up, and I hopped on the bus, and it rode through the night, and I got down to Miami, I don't know, 3:30, 4 o'clock in the morning. And so we had an event all the next day, and then went to the game that night. Got to do 3 Super Bowls that way. Might not have been something that I would have done otherwise, but because of real estate, I got to do the Cowboys when they beat Pittsburgh in '96, I guess it was. So I did 3 in a row. I did San Diego when they had the Green Bay Packers and Broncos, I believe. and then we did New England and Green Bay down in New Orleans. So I had New Orleans, Tempe, and San Diego 3 years in a row, just blast. But all of that happened because of the availability of real estate. And so you all have things that you can do and want to do and would love to do, but you either don't have the time or you don't have the money, and real estate can cure that, can change that. Kevin knows I'm a cruiser. I love going on cruises. I've done 22 cruises.
Me too.
I've had
22 cruises and
oil.
only has 3 kids.
Do I know?
It's a 22 cruises and only has 3 kids.
Yeah, yeah. So, which is surprising. I love the Caribbean. I love Mexico. I love the Caribbean. So I love being in that part of the world. Most of those were 7 days. I did a few 10-day cruises. I love those as well. And I love Vegas. And I've been to Vegas. And, now they've shut Vegas back down. I'm just like, oh, my gosh, this is just nuts. And so I haven't been to Vegas in over a year. And Kevin sees me from time to time, and he can tell I get to shaking, and that's what it is. It's the Vegas withdrawals. But I had looked, I think last year sometime when we were kind of yakking about things, and I started looking at, I lost count at about 60 on the trips to Vegas. Now, most of those are 3 and 4 days. But it's nice to just be able to say, hey, I'm got a date, want to get away, boom, chill out, take your spouse, take your significant other, whatever it happens to be, and go wherever it happens to be that you like. And for me, that happens to be Vegas or Mexico or on a cruise. And the fun ones are, and again, this is not about money. This is about the availability of what money can do. And so one of my favorite trips of all time was, and this, I'll tell you 2 sides. This trip happened in 2 different
hold
ways.
That story, because I want to hear it. Let's take a break real quick, all right?
You got it. Come right back with us.
And we are back. And you know what? Before you get started, because I want to hear more. Vegas, when I lived in Southern California, Vegas is a 4-hour drive. And for years, I had an office in Vegas on Flamingo over by UNLV. And I used to spend 3 or 4 days a week, every other week, sometimes more in Vegas. I got to tell you, honestly, I'm kind of up to here with Vegas. I used to love going, used to love the buffets, especially. Got to work on that. I still love buffets, but no more Vegas. But now that I am in South Florida, okay, there are cruises. As soon as this whole coronavirus leaves, there are cruises leaving like every other minute from South Florida. So get yourself another half and let's do cruises, because I love cruising as well. Probably because of the food, but also the experiences. But yeah, I love leaving from, when I was in Southern California, I leave from Southern California all the time, but we would come out here. We would leave from Florida, and we would also, I love leaving from New Orleans. New Orleans is such a great port to leave from, because you go down the Mississippi River and out into the Gulf of Mexico. So that is one of my favorite places. Plus, you can do we'll talk about that a different day. But right. New Orleans is one of my favorite ports.
I did some stuff where we left out of LA and out of San Diego. Most of mine left out of Miami and Fort Lauderdale. And I did a fair amount that left out of Cape Liberty, which is New York. So just it depends on where you were going and what line you were on and all that kind of stuff. And, when you do that, to be able to do it in a fun way, where you're doing the upgraded meal package so that you're always eating in. So Kevin mentioned he liked the food. Well, the premium restaurants are really nice. And it's just a small upgrade. And then they do the upgrades where all your drinks are included. And
that is not a good upgrade, unfortunately.
So
you will forget a lot of your cruise if the drinks are free.
I haven't found the one yet where all of your poker chips are included. They have just fun stuff, and you get to do the excursions so one of Pierce and I were laughing. He's my young one. He's 14. We were laughing the other day. I don't know what brought it up, but on one of the excursions, we rented speedboats, and there were about 10 or 12 of us that rented these little speedboats, and we had a guide. He took us out, and we spent a couple hours just hauling butt in these boats, and it's like, Dad, I'd have thought I was going to die if I hadn't been with you. and they were just a blast, just the fun things to do. But the big thing is just being able to break away and go and know that, if your kids want to go, like right now, I've got one that's about to start college, just literally in a few weeks. And my young one is, they have gone to private school their whole life. And it's just one of those things that the financial freedom brings. If I had the availability, what would I do? Well, one of the things was, if I had the availability, I'd want my kids to go to private school. And they've gone to private school their entire life, starting in pre-K. And please don't misunderstand that. That's not a bragging thing. That's just like, it's just one of those things that for me personally, it was important to me. And so I wanted to be able to do that. You wouldn't know it by our podcast, but I'm somewhat of a clothes horse. And so I enjoy clothes big time. And so I have a pretty big wardrobe, and I've been fat a few times. So I've got 2 or 3 different wardrobes. Just things that matter, being involved with the charities that you want to be involved with. One of the charities that I got very, very heavily involved with for years was a charity called the American Fallen Soldiers Project. And I had the honor of being able to be on their board for 3.5 years, almost 4 years. And there's just things like that. Again, that was a time thing, and it was an availability to be able to give some, not just cash, but also to be able to give some time. And so when those things happen, you find out, when you have the freedom, you find out that opportunities will come to you. They're coming anyway. They're coming all the time. But when we don't have the time freedom, or we don't have the financial freedom, we're not aware of them. Things pop up, something's said, and we don't pick up on it when it was an opportunity waiting for us, again, because we didn't have either the time wherewithal or the money wherewithal. Didn't happen. When you start getting that freedom, and there's a couple of things that I work with my clients. I'm sure Kevin does the same thing. One of the things that I stress with my clients: if you get an opportunity to pay your house off, pay it off. Why? Because there's a guy who is one of the brightest guys I know, Dr. Nido Qubein, and I had a chance to interview Nido Qubein several years ago. And in the interview, he's probably a billionaire now. At that time, he was worth about 700. He has a university in North Carolina. I apologize that I forget the name of it, but he bought a university and has just done incredibly well. But I said, how did you accumulate the wealth that you have? And he said, well, I paid for my house and I paid for my cars. And I said, Nido, wait a minute, you missed the question. I didn't ask what you did with the money. I said, how'd you get the money? And he said, no, listen, I paid for my house and I paid for my cars because once your house is paid for and you're not worried about where your family's going to sleep, you see everything differently. And the incredible opportunities that our country has day in, day out, that 99% of Americans miss because we are so debt enslaved. We got to keep the nose to the grindstone. You got your head down, keep your head down, work hard. That ain't going to get you anywhere but a sore neck. And so when that happens, you miss opportunity. And when the only thing that's consuming your life is, I've got all of this debt on me, and I just can't breathe. Well, when that's the case, you miss opportunity. And that's what Nito was saying. He had his house paid for, and his cars paid for, and because Tony Robbins makes a statement that I love and I remind myself of continually, that if you'll live today like others are not willing to, you can live tomorrow the way others cannot afford to. And it's that decision that we make that, hey, you know what? I'm going to go do the things that allow me to have that time freedom and to have that money freedom so that I can spend time with my kids, so that I can take my kids to school every day, so I can pick them up so that you can do all the games that you need to. In my case, so that all the time I got to coach youth baseball. It was just such a thrill to be able to do that, to have the time to do that. We had a select team that only thing we asked parents to do was to chip in $50 for a tournament. We didn't ask them to buy uniforms or equipment or any of that. We did all of that stuff. We asked them to pay for. If we did a tournament, we said, hey, chip in $50 to cover the cost of the tournament. But all the normal stuff that teams might charge $2,000, $3,000 a season for, we didn't do that because we didn't have to. And so there's a lot of opportunity, whatever it is that is meaningful to you. Once you understand that, and it could just be fun stuff. It could be something more serious. But whatever it is that really gets your adrenaline flowing, that you are truly passionate about, and I mean truly passionate about, that you'll get your butt out of bed early in the morning, that you'll stay up later at night after everybody's gone to bed because you're trying to learn, you're trying to build, and you're moving forward. If you've got something like that in your life, this is the business for you. And if you don't, you better get off your butt and get it figured out. What is it? Because you're going to have a pretty empty life if there's nothing. Maybe it's just your kids, which is fabulous. But it's Mark Victor Hansen, who Kevin knows.
Actually, before we start about Mark Victor Hansen, because that's going to lead to my next, let's take a break. But when we get back, okay, I want you to tell us about your aha, getting to life Mark Victor Hansen, because he talks about aha moments. I want you to tell us about your aha lifestyle moment. And you said, you know what? This is awesome. I'm on the right track. Okay, so let's take a break and we'll come back with your aha moment. And we're back, and just before the break, we were talking, Bill was talking about Mark Victor Hansen, who is a friend of his, also Robert Allen, who is a friend of his, and Mark and Robert did a book together. It was called The Enlightened Millionaire. Excellent book. It is actually really interesting as well in that it has two sides. One page is a story, and the other page is the analytics. You can read the whole thing, page to page, or you can read half the book and then flip it over and read the other half. Not literally flip it over, but read the left side of the page going through. Interesting book, worth picking up just to read it. Interesting story as well. It is called The Enlightened Millionaire. But one of the things that Mark Victor Hansen, who is the author of the Chicken Soup books, okay, he likes to talk about is aha moments. And that's when you say, aha. It's the minute that light bulb comes on above your head where you have a realization. And tell us that realization for you as far as lifestyle goes. What was it that you did that you didn't think you were going to be able to do, and you realized, you know what, this is because I'm in real estate?
And excellent. It goes right back to the boys and to private school. And here's why. When my 18-year-old was 4, he had a list. And of course, as parents, we were freaked out, just, oh my gosh. And so we started talking to some people, and they said, well, there's an opportunity for the school, the public school, has a speech therapist, and she can direct you into maybe give you some treatment. And if you need to go to a specialist, she can refer you to one. And that this is a great starting point for, do we need to do anything? If we do need to do anything, what is it that we need to do? And so she was set up at the school where our kids would have gone had they gone to public school. So we go over there. So it's my ex and I and my little guy at the time. And so we're walking in the hall, and it's just an old elementary school. It's not unlike
Any other
100,000 elementary schools around the country. And I look over, and Chris was just, she wasn't saying a word, but tears were just streaming down her face. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what's happened here? And I stopped her, and I'm like, what's going on? And she said, I can't send our child to school here. Oh my gosh. Now she had gone to public school. I went to public school. We survived fine. It was like, I hadn't thought about private school. But at that moment, I was able to say, hey, you know what? Let's go have the meeting with the speech therapist. And then as soon as we're done, we'll start looking at the private schools around, because we got the ability to do that. It's a check. We could write it, be done with it, and we won't have to worry about that. And we found out, she was like, oh, no, we're way behind the curve there. You have to start 2 years in it, all this kind of crazy stuff. Well, we had some pull at one of the schools that which is where they ended up going. We absolutely love. I do Southwest Christian. And so the kids went to school there. And Pierce, my young one's still going to school there. So that was a big aha when I realized that here was a pain point it wasn't in my life. I was concerned about my son's speech, which, by the way, the speech therapist said he's going to grow out of it in about a year, and you'll never know it happened, and he did, and that's the way it was. And she said, there's nothing for you to do. Okay. But it was a pain point for Chris at the time. And it was an aha to be able to solve that piece of pain, and to be able to say, you know what, my real estate business has put us in a position to where the fact that we need to pay $20,000 a year for a kid to go to private school, we can do that. And and of course having multiple kids, so most of that time we had both of them in there, which I laugh now. It was prepping us for college is what was happening. But that was a huge aha moment for me, was that real estate allowed my kids to be able to do this and what it meant to her. Okay. So I'm yakking with Mark, and one of the things that Hanson had stressed to me, which was another aha moment, he said, our responsibility as parents is to create great adults. And part of that creating great adults is that as they're growing up, we are not only providing for them, but we're building memories with them. That's where the time comes in. A lot of screwed up kids out there have rich parents that can give them anything they want, but they didn't give them the time, or they didn't give them any discipline or any love. And he said, so there's two pieces to this. It's not just providing, because we as guys kind of think, we tend to be more on the providing side, but it's building memories with our kids, things that we get to do together, things that they like to do and want to do. And for me, I bet I haven't missed 3 games of any of my boys total in the whole time they've been playing sports. And the only time that I did that was I accepted people asked me to come speak and have an impact on somebody's life, and I took the time to go do that. So when you're doing this, you're also going to, as you start to get financial freedom and time freedom, you're going to discover some things about you that you don't know yet. They are worth discovering. And those things evolve around, well, what is it that I would do if money wasn't the issue? What is it that I would do if time wasn't the issue? And it may be, as it was for me, it may be something completely different for you than you ever thought it would be. And the availability of your time, and look, time and money go hand in hand. They do not separate. Um, it's useless to be wealthy if you have no time to enjoy it, and it's useless to have all the time in the world on your hands if you have no money to enjoy it. They're hand in glove. But you're going to discover some things about you as the money comes along and the time freedom comes along. What is it that I now spend my time doing? And that's what you'll discover.
And I can tell you, not just my own personal experience, but I have seen students literally go from working jobs to being successful investors and choosing something totally that you just would not have imagined. I have students who started churches and become pastors because they're real estate investors. And that was a calling that they found literally after they had the freedom to do whatever they wanted to do. I've had students who have started other businesses that were their passion. I have different businesses of my own. I'm a car guy. I have businesses. I have patented parts that we've designed for performance cars. It's one of the businesses that I have. My real estate business allows me to have other businesses that feed my passion. And I've seen that time and time again from students. Don't think you're just going to be a real estate investor, because once you get the time, you're going to be a coach. You're going to be leading prayer meetings at your church like Bill does, okay? Once you have that time, you're going to find things that offer an even greater fulfillment in your life and in your soul, because you have that freedom and you have that flexibility. And those are, you hear that MasterCard commercial where they say, whatever, X amount of dollars, the freedom in your life, priceless, and that is really what it boils down to. Having toys, having nice things. I know Bill doesn't have an airplane, because if he did, I'd have him fly out here. We can hang out. I don't think he has a boat. He might. We've already established he doesn't have a motorcycle. We're going to work on a few of those things for him. Having the toy.
That's probably the most likely toy that I would jump out of those three.
I'm working on a boat for myself now, too, that I'm back in South Florida and closer to the beach. Toys are nice, but the best thing about this lifestyle, and we're going to do my lifestyle on Wednesday, but the best thing about this lifestyle, and Bill can give his 2 cents, and I already know what it's going to be because it's the same for both of us. It is being able to do whatever we want, when we want, with whom we want. And for us, it is our family and our friends. I'm sitting in a theater that is at a club. We decided we're going to host once a week or once every other week. We're going to just a big party. There's a gourmet kitchen right out here for caterers to use. Okay, we're going to do that once or twice a week. Once a month before we moved, we used to do a brunch with all of our friends on Sunday. Those types of things, they don't seem like a big deal, but for most people, they're not able to put them together. But having freedom and having flexibility is what allows you to do that. Bill, your 2 cents, and then we'll wrap it up because we're a little over time.
Yeah,
but take your time.
One of the fun thing is, Kevin knows, I spent 14 years at the ballpark in Arlington where the Texas Rangers played, and my office was in center field. And while I was there, one of the great fun things was being able to invite friends out to just come out and hang out for a ball game. And then toward the end of that stay, I had several groups that I had found, typically some solos and some duo acts, music acts that I would stumble onto out. I love country music, and I'd go out and listen to folks and be able to go up to them at a club and go, hey, I want you to come out to our suite next week and play for my friends. And they go, oh, well, it's, we charge X. It's like, yeah, so come on, like, bring it on. And, and that was just a fun thing to be able to do. We had 2 years in a row that the Rangers made the World Series. And so to be able to invite friends, and I had several friends that I invited out to a World Series game that were like me, especially in 2010, because The Rangers had never been to the World Series, and so I had never been to a World Series game. So it was great to be able to invite some friends out, and I had so many of them that said, I've never done this. I've always wanted to go to a World Series game, and here they were able to do that, and I was able to do that. Of course, my kids were there, and so just something that is going to be meaningful for you and will surprise you sometimes. But the things that are important are the things that we've talked about with family and with friends, because it's those things that will outlive you. Whatever house we live in, whatever cars and boats and airplanes and all that stuff that we have, that goes away the minute we go away. But those relationships, the time and experiences that we get to share together, those things don't. And when you impact somebody else's life in a positive manner, it changes your life. And you begin to understand why God put you on this earth to begin with. And so having that time financially, having the freedom time-wise and financially to be able to do the things that really you were designed to do. That's the great aha of investing in real estate, and worth all the effort and worth all the time.
Amen. Thank you for joining us for this special personal Investor Guys podcast. We're going to do my lifestyle on Wednesday. I might do it back here in the theater. Bill, why don't you flat? You can sit in the theater here and we'll do it together.
There you go.
On your plane.
Yeah.
I don't have a plane either.
Hey, thanks for joining us. We'll see you next time on the Investor Guys podcast.
Yes, happy investing.